We are live. So excited to be here with you guys. What a jam-packed day of news, week of news. It is Friday, of course. We're about to get into Memorial Day weekend. I know a lot of you have some really incredible things to do this weekend. Maybe you're going camping or spending time with family. Whatever it is, I hope you have a generally great time. So much to talk about. There was a crypto dinner with Trump and a bunch of, people that own his meme coin. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about economy. We're going to talk about tariffs. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill. We're going to talk about what's in there for crypto. We're going to talk about XRP, DTCC, tokenization, SUI, you name it. I got a lot of really cool stuff. Of course, we're going to talk about Bitcoin and the last few days in the market. So let's just go ahead and check out what's going on in the chat here. We got LAX in the house. Mark is here. Great to see you, Mark. What's up, Peter? Curtis, great to see you, Curtis. Thank you so much for being here, man. What's up, Justin Rego? The other nomad is here. Christopher, how's it going? Appreciate you. Luna really does appreciate you. She's getting ready to lay down. She's right in front of me, getting into her bed. Great to see you, Chipper. Notorious Pim. Great to see you. Andrew, what's up, man? Do a flip. Man, I'm going to hurt myself if I try to do any type of flip. Aloha from the Big Island. Sanford, great to have you, man. Aloha, my brother. Matt's here. All right. We already got 300 people just hanging out. Love to see it, guys. If you get value from this chat, if you want to show your support, ways you can do that is liking the chat. If you're on YouTube, just hit and like. If you're on Twitter, you could think about sharing the chat out with your audience. That'd be really cool if you could do that. If not, all good. Sit back, relax. We're going to get into a lot of crypto information here. All right, let's go ahead and just pull up actually. Let's go take a look here at the market and find out what's been going on here. Bitcoin hit, what was it, 112? What was this little high peak here? Where are we? 111, almost 112,000. I think it was 112,000 on some platforms. 2.15 trillion. Wow, look at this nice, incredible growth, right? Look at this month. Bitcoin is up 15.8%. Last 7 days, 4.166%. And we're cooling off a little bit today. And that's probably due to some more trade stuff happening. Ethereum, kind of, last 7 days been stuck the same. XRP is down 2.21% over the last 7 days. BNB is up a bit. Solana is up a bit. Dogecoin's up a bit. Hyperliquid is up 26%. Wow, that is an incredible ecosystem that came out of nowhere. 11 billion market cap for Hyperliquid. It is almost a top 10 token. This just goes to show you that things can launch in the crypto space and get into the top 10, top 25, in a very quick period if there is value in what they are offering and if, of course, you bring users. Chainlink here sitting at $15.85. I think if you don't have Chainlink in your portfolio, you should really be trying to understand what Chainlink does and why it's such a vital piece for the crypto market at large. Of course, AVAX, if you like gaming, that's a lot of that is happening on the AVAX ecosystem. A lot of really cool things to happen. I think AVAX used to see maybe $150, $200 if we really get lucky here over the next 6 to 8 months here. Stellar XLM sitting at 29 cents, sitting here at $9 billion market cap, looking pretty strong. And of course, HBAR is sitting here just under 20 cents. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of this news. President Trump says the U.S. is dominating in crypto and Bitcoin. He just put out this tweet. I think this was like yesterday or the day before. Love to see the passion that this man has for crypto in the U.S. I just wish the passion would, we are very attached to this one word, Bitcoin. I'd really like it if we could branch out and really involve other like real American blockchain companies, HBAR, Algorand, XRP, Stellar, Ondo, Chainlink. I mean, there's so many really incredible projects that we could be talking about or pushing forward with. And I think over time, hopefully we'll see some of that. Scott Bissett was doing the rounds here. He's talking about, let me just play it actually. I can't remember if this is talking about the trade or if this is talking about legal clarity. I think it's digital asset companies deserve legal clarity. Let me play this.
Going big on digital assets. So Trump administration has made digital assets a priority. Past administration starved and almost made extinct a lot of these companies and pushed it offshore. So what we want to do is apply the highest U.S. regulatory and AML standards to digital assets, especially stable coins. And I've seen estimates that just over the short term, stable coins could create $2 trillion of demand for U.S. Treasuries and Treasury bills. To put that in context, the number is probably about 300 billion right now.
All right, guys. If you've been following along here, the U.S. and other countries have been running into an issue selling their debt. Right? When you buy a bond, a government bond, basically what you're saying, you're giving the government money. They're giving you this piece of paper that's saying in X amount of time, we're going to pay you back everything that you gave us plus interest, like a principal, right? And, before we went into the cerveza sickness, rates were at an all-time low, and a lot of these banks went out and they bought a bunch of long-term bonds. And then we had to raise rates, right? There was a huge hike cycle for rates. And so, all of the bonds that banks bought at, 1% or 2%, now they're like 5% or 6%. And so banks have lost hundreds of billions of dollars. And as that gap keeps widening, there's more and more pressure that's being put on the banking system. Okay. And this is why a lot of people believe eventually that this system will eventually collapse in on itself because of this. And so what the Trump administration is trying to do right now is they're trying to find a new buyer for America's debt. And stable coins are those buyers, right? Stable coins are backed up by securities, usually treasury bonds. And so this plays right into what they're trying to do. And I think this is going to benefit all of us in the long run, especially in the crypto market. So I really like to see, there's a problem here, and then Scott Bessent and the Trump administration is trying to solve it through crypto, which I love. Great stuff. All right, let's keep it going here. It says Treasury Secretary says digital asset companies deserve regulatory clarity. We did talk about that. It does look like some whales. James Nguyen, 40x Bitcoin whale. His long position is $107 billion. Incredible. And then, of course, we did talk about Trump saying we're dominating the space. I think we're getting to a point where we're going to be dominating the space. I don't think we're dominating the space just yet, right? The UK, the EU, other parts of the world have already started, have already passed their regulation and are already incorporating digital assets into their infrastructure. That is something where I think the US can catch up really quickly, but I don't know if we're dominating quite just yet. And I thought this was interesting to show you because everyone tells us, right? If you listen to any Bitcoin maximalist, that Bitcoin is the future, right? That Bitcoin is the new financial system. And then you start to understand, like, how much does it cost to send $1 million payment in Bitcoin, right? Or something like that. This is a $1,700 Bitcoin transaction triggered a $121,000 fee. So this person was moving basically enough money to buy an iPhone, and the fee was $121,000. So this is actually more expensive than Swift. If you think about it, this isn't the new financial system. That is why if this person were to do the same transaction on the XRP ledger with Bitcoin, they would have saved a ton of money, right? It's just crazy to see this type of level of fee. It brings me back to the old days. If you guys remember 2021, Ethereum, how expensive that was. That's what it reminds me of. If you guys can recall that. All right. BlackRock continues to buy Bitcoin. We've seen a huge demand from institutions. And so what I want you to take out of this is this right here. Right now, outside of Bitcoin, there are a lot of financial institutions that are applying for crypto ETFs, spot ETFs. And if you take a look at what the market is actually demanding right now, you'll find that XRP is actually one of the most sought after spot ETF assets. Now, what I want you to imagine here is sooner or later, all of these people that are buying into Bitcoin are going to have a come to Jesus moment. And that moment will be probably like, oh my God, my Bitcoin went from 100,000 to 200,000. I just made 100%. What else, is there in the crypto space that I could also make these type of returns, if not larger. Now, if you've been in the crypto space for some time, you understand that, 100% gain is not too interesting, right? You're more of like, man, I want a 5,000% gain or a 10,000% gain, because we've seen that happen every single day. A lot of it sometimes happens with meme coins, but there are some really good utility projects that stay under wraps. They launch and the price explodes in value. So over time, I think you're going to see just an incredibly big demand for these types of financial products, and that will bring in these gigantic institutions and that money, right? There was 120 billion dollars went into Bitcoin ETFs. Imagine what would happen when people start finding out, that Bitcoin isn't the next financial system, yet it might be like XRP or HBAR or whatever. All right. Okay, let's keep it going here. Let's keep it going. I did think this was something worth sharing. I don't really love Jack Mallers too much. I think he's very, one-sided thinker here. But, this does speak to a larger play of why people are so interested in cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin.
There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. To truly understand just how scarce that makes Bitcoin, let's look at planet Earth. The surface of the planet spans roughly 200 million square miles. And unless you're Aquaman, most of that's unusable. And okay, let's say we remove the deserts, the mountains, the forests, and the farmland. What's left is just above 32 million square miles of livable land. Now, imagine dividing all of that into just 21 million plots to represent each of the 21 million Bitcoin. Each Bitcoin would represent over 1,000 acres, or the equivalent of about 750 football fields. To own that much land today, you'd need hundreds of millions of dollars. Do you see how truly scarce Bitcoin is?
All right. Thought that was kind of cool to show. I just wanted to do that. All right. And then the US government is still printing money like crazy. We do know we are entering a period of time where the government's probably going to be forced to print a ton of money. And, the ramifications of that, I think we've seen in the past when a lot of money is created very suddenly, that is inherently inflationary. And so, be prepared. All right. I think I was just researching like debt, fiscal responsibility. I'm not going to get into this right now. Joe Rogan, this is clips and floating around talking about, imagine if Bitcoin becomes the only money worth anything. I just thought this was hilarious. Let me play this for you.
Imagine if Bitcoin becomes the only money worth anything. And then everybody's like, well, I don't have any of it. Well, your money's not worth shit. You got to get new money. You got to get money in Bitcoin.
That's what's going to happen.
And then there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Bitcoin number is finite.
Right. So
like maybe there's no Bitcoin for you.
Right.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen.
You just predicted the future, Joe.
That's what's going to happen. Let me ask you a serious question here, right? You all are very smart people, right? You see stuff that most other people do not. That puts you in a different category in my book. Imagine a billion people using the Bitcoin network. Do you think that's going to go pretty well at all? Handling 7 transactions a second. Let's just, you know what? Let's take this to perplexity. Let's do some math here. I want to better understand this, right? So let's pull this up here. All right. Bitcoin can handle 7 transactions per second. If 1 billion people today started to use Bitcoin for everyday life purchases, how long would it take to send one payment? I mean, I think it would get to a point where it'd be so backed up that it could take like days or weeks, right? It really isn't. Just to give you an example here, Visa can scale to 50,000 transactions a second. Okay. So here you go. Here's some information. If 1 billion people try to use Bitcoin for everyday purchases and wanted to send a payment, it would approximately take 1,653 days or 4.5 years for those payments to be processed. Yes, it is the future, ladies and gentlemen. It'll just take 4 years for your payment to get there. You know what? Second thought, I'm just going to go and use Swift instead. That's going to be faster. Imagine that, right? It's the future. 4 years? I think like this is just like some basic ass research and people are just so clueless on it. It's just, it's mind boggling. It is mind boggling. All right. I'll get off my, my pedestal here. Look at this guy's face. He just doesn't even know, man. He just doesn't even know. All right. Let me see here. Coinbase did put out a new ad, I guess. Let me just show you this.
Being on the penny used to mean something. It was worthy compensation for thoughts. But now it's useless fodder for petty wishes tossed out like common garbage 120 million times a year. Even though it's still technically money. It's tortured, humiliated, forgotten. The currency of choice for paying people back with spite. This is $50, by the way. Why are you doing this? Get me off this piece of scrap metal. Make me digital. Let me soar. Imagine me actually paying for stuff amongst the people again, instantly traveling the globe without fees or friction. Old Abe just wants to be good at being money again. Is that too much to ask for an old top-hatted dreamer?
I thought that was a pretty good ad, though, for real. All right, let's see what you guys are saying here. Patrick says, I love this channel. Patrick, we love you for being here, my man. Thank you so much. Let me see here. All right, Ariana, don't worry about it. Let's go back to the normal way we do it, and then we'll work on this for next week to see if we can't figure this out. But I appreciate you trying, all right? Oh, snap. We got $4.99 from Kobos here. He says, you and Mikkel are the kings of this. Appreciate you, man. That is, I think Mikkel does an incredible job. It really is an honor to be considered on the same level as him. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words. I couldn't make this channel. This channel wouldn't be what it is today without your support, your love and your passion and your time. And so I take that very seriously. So thank you so much. Down short term. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit here, but let's see here. RC says, hey, Sensei, would XDC be in your top 10? Very affordable at the moment. RC, I think XDC is a great choice. Like, having XDC in your portfolio is probably something that you should do. Obviously you want to talk with a financial advisor because I'm not that. I'm just the guy next to a seal, random dude, no plaques, no plot. I didn't go to a university for all this stuff, right? This is like University of YouTube, Hard Knocks, right? So XDC is going to be used on a massive scale for TradeFi. And TradeFi is like a $16 trillion industry in and itself. And if you actually take a look here, let's go ahead and just pull this up so we can understand this a little bit better here. So if we look at XRP, for instance, we understand that the market cap of XRP is sitting right now about 136 billion. And remember, this is all a speculation market cap. This is not really based on utility. If we were talking about utility, obviously this would be a whole lot different. And so if we take a look at this 136 billion, if you look at XDC is still trading right around 1.1 billion. So if XDC eventually, if it caught up to XRP's market cap, you would be looking at 130x, give or take, from where we are right now. And so, oh shoot, I was not sharing the right screen. I do apologize. I have to remember to do that. The ADHD-ness gets me. So here is XDC. You can take a look here as the market cap of 1.1 billion. If I go back to XRP, you'll see the market cap here is about 136 billion. So absolutely. Is there room for growth? 100%. Is XDC a good choice for that? 100%. Absolutely. I think so. All right. Thank you for the question. Appreciate you. Larry, I appreciate you, man. I salute you too. Arca is pretty dope. Arca. I don't think I've heard of Arca. Oh, Arca is the name of person. Gotcha. Let's see here. I'm looking for the government to screw us for the XRP, fam. It's really difficult to see what's going to happen with all of that, but we'll talk about it here a little bit. Any thoughts on ZBCN? Well, ZBCN, Zebec, has been brought up maybe for the past 2 or 3 months in these hauls. And yes, I have bought in some over that time period, and I'm still adding. So yeah, we are buying it. Absolutely. Flare Networks. So Rion we said, what's your opinion on Flare Networks? Should I buy? So Flare, I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't do, right? All I can do is give you information, and hopefully that information allows you to better understand it, and so you can make better decisions. So Flare Networks has been in build mode for years. All right. Before they deployed, they were in build mode. And then after, for years, they deployed, they're in build mode. They are finally at a place where they are, they're still going to be building, but their technology is ready. F assets are starting to go. And Hugo Filion said just a few weeks ago, his goal is to do $10 billion a day in DeFi on Flare. All right. So is Flare a good deal right now? Absolutely. Would Flare probably be a little bit more expensive today if the airdrop hadn't lasted 3 years and people were constantly selling Flare? Probably. It would probably be at a higher point right now, I would imagine. So Flare, I do think, is a good one. A lot of talk about Zebec, Tars AI gem. Tars is pretty cool, man. On Solana, for sure. For sure, man. For sure. All right, let's get back into some of this. I've done Mo Beast. I've done like 6 videos on Tars. If you go take a look at all of my content, everything you want to know about Tars is actually on there. They're in the AI space. They've been working Solana Foundation and a few other things. They got a grant. They've been building pretty steadily. I haven't followed too much in the last few weeks, but something to take a look at for sure. Any chance to explain Zebec and XRP merge? So it wouldn't be a merge. No. Okay. What you're talking about, I think, is there was a clip that was released where I think the founder of Zebec was talking about working with Ripple or XRP integration on something. They're not going to be merging. I believe Ripple is an early investor into Zebec. I believe that's accurate. I'd have to hold on. Perplexity. Let's share this. Is Ripple an early investor into Zebec? Let's see. I thought they were. Ripple is not confirmed as an early investor in Zebec. However, there's clear evidence of recent partnership and ongoing product development discussions. Okay, so here you go. Multiple recent sources confirm Zebec has announced partnerships with Ripple, Circle, and Chainlink, which have led to significant increase in Zebec's token value. Zebec team members have publicly stated that they have been in talks with Ripple for the past few weeks and potential product that we're working on together, indicating active live collaboration, but no direct investment. There you go. So no direct investment, but they are working together on something. I'm glad we checked that in real time. I hope that helps you. I'm up 300% on my Zeben. Josh, love to hear that, man. Keep fucking making that money, dude. You got this. Super Sal says, long leave Crypto Sensei. Is it long live Crypto Sensei? Long leave. Don't leave me, please. Please don't leave me. Let's see here. We got a question about Circle acquisition. Do you think the Circle acquisition and Zebec partnership are connected? Circle is heavy in Zebec. I don't know anything about that connection. I can tell you that it seems Circle has been trying to get more money. The crazy part about all this is, and I've made a lot of content on this, and we've talked about this at length in these chats. And so you start to wonder, like, why haven't BlackRock or, JP Morgan or Wells Fargo or any of these other financial giants, why haven't they put in an offer for Circle? You obviously know that stablecoin regulation is coming in America. Right. We got the Genius Act is going to be pushed through in the Senate, probably be voted yes in the House. And, President Trump will sign that into law as soon as that happens. I'd have to say that, it's a real possibility that any other company could come in. And it's also a really big possibility that Ripple could be that, be the deciding factor in that. I mean, you got to think about this. The people that work at Circle believe in what they are doing, right? Just as the people that work at Ripple believe in what they're doing. And they want to see whoever, if they were to sell their business to somebody, right, or a company, They would want to make sure that that company lived up to their name, right? Could take what they had built and turn it into whatever it's going to be. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you see different offers or more offers, but it also wouldn't be surprising if it just happens. So we'll have to see how that all unfolds. Supercell, I appreciate you. We just don't need to spam in the chat. We have a lot of really unique and interesting people asking questions, and I just don't want to miss that for the spam. So just I love you. Just bring it down a little bit. All right. I appreciate you. And then Axelar, only Axelar leading to bring interoperability to the XRP ledger, then Chainlink working with JP Morgan. Yeah, like Axelar, Chainlink, these are all really great utility assets, guys. All really good utility assets. All right. Sensei, does Ripple still need XRP to buy? Oh, hey, Sensei, does Ripple still need XRP to buy Circle? Yeah, Peter. So, when we were doing this research last week for the video, and I talked about it in the live chat, we were trying to figure out like how much money does Ripple have compared to Coinbase, because it was supposed to be between those two companies, yada yada yada. And so I think Coinbase had about $8 to $10 billion in like cash equivalents and other types of securities. And then Ripple, I believe, has about 100 billion, because they have 37 billion XRP, and they also have cash and other investments too. So Ripple financially is probably in a better place to buy Circle. But, there's a lot of things that we just don't know because we're not on the inside listening to, reading up on all the deal stuff. So, but does Ripple still need XRP if they buy Circle? Absolutely, right? You got to understand that Circle is it's a stable coin, right? It's a stable coin on 104 blockchains with 60 billion in liquidity, but it's still a stable coin. I would imagine that Ripple would try to find a way to, bring some of this value onto the XRP ledger or cross-chain interoperability. I don't know. There's people way smarter than I, who are currently trying to figure all this stuff out. So as soon as we have more information and more context, I'll definitely share that with you, and we'll have a good conversation about it. Okay. All right, let's do this, guys. Let me jump back in the news, and I swear I'll get to some of your questions here. Bear with me. Okay. We got 1,400 people in the chat. If you guys like what you're hearing, please hit like, please share it. Let's keep it going here. I'm sure we can get to 2,000 people if we get a little help from my friends. All right. So did you guys see this though? Right. Big banks explore venturing into the crypto world together. If you didn't know what those big banks are, here they are on screen. Holy smoking rockets. We're talking about JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citibank. Now, please raise your hand, right? If you think, no, I was kidding. So Ripple does have connections to Bank of America and Wells Fargo. More connections to Bank of America than anything, I guess, at this point. And so Citibank actually has connections to Ripple through Ripple Custody, which is now Medico. Okay. But Citi has really been working on the, RLN network, the regulated liability network, which doesn't involve Ripple and XRP. But I would imagine, like, when I look at these four banks, you start to wonder, like, okay, these four banks are competing against each other for market share, customers, whatever it is, right? They're in direct competition with each other. So, is Citibank going to want to hold a stable coin called JP Morgan coin, or like they're going to have to find a token that really doesn't involve either one of their names, right? Because that is not something they're going to be super interested in. Now, I have a clip that speaks exactly to this. Hold on. I was going to show it to you later, but now that this got brought up, my brain is spinning, and I have to show you this because this connects really beautifully. Oh my God, where is this? Okay, hold on one second. Let me see if I can find what I am talking about here, because there's a beautiful clip that lines up perfectly with what I want to tell you here. I just don't know where it is. Ooh, spicy. Man, shoot, it might be in some of the content that I was working on for another video. Oh, shoot. You know what? I don't know if I have it here. I was putting together content, and shoot, hold on. I have so many tiles here, guys. Sorry, bear with me. I'm just trying to see if I can find this thing. No. Oh, yes. Here it is. Perfect. I love it when shit works out. Okay. So we're talking about stable coins in the United States, right? We were talking about, let me just move this over so I have it next to each other so I can go right to it. All right. So we were talking about these 4 banks wanting to create their own stable coin. So when we're talking, this is America, right? They're interested in doing this in America, but these banks also have banks outside of America. So whatever stable coin that they do would need to be compliant in every country that they are in, or they will be receiving money in. But watch this video. So this is, what is this guy's name? I can't remember what this guy's, French Hill. I think this is French Hill. Let me play this.
To create a dollar-backed stablecoin is an important strategic asset.
Trump World Global?
Well, they would have to comply with the new federal law.
Right.
And no one right now complies with the work that we've done in the House or Senate on a stablecoin act. Circle doesn't fully comply. Tether is not even in.
Listen to this, right? They're talking about compliance of stablecoins. Currently, how it stands right now, if regulation was passed in America today, Circle and USDT don't actually do enough to qualify under this regulation, is what Mr. Hill is saying. So let me just play that again. If you didn't hear it the first time, here it is again.
With the work that we've done in the House or Senate on a stablecoin act. Circle doesn't fully comply. Tether is not even in the United States. It's outside the U.S. It wouldn't comply. So if we have a high standard, the world will come to that high standard for enforcement and for definition. And, you know, if the Trump coin can meet that definition, so be it. There'll be multiple competing stable coins, in my view. You see the headlines today that the large banks are thinking about collectively having a stable coin. It's a new payment rail in Web3 on a blockchain to compete with other payment methodologies. I don't view it as a store of value. I view it as debit cash, credit stable coin, buy something institutionally or as a consumer.
Do you see it as hopefully disinflationary, meaning that it should take cost out of the system?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, blockchain generally, what attracts me to crypto is not crypto, not Bitcoin, but the operating system benefits of blockchain. I think it takes costs out of the system. I think for consumers, it creates accessibility. Look at the Benji, which is Franklin Templeton's money market account that's been tokenized. They can offer that at a higher rate and a lower dollar amount to customers because the cost has been taken out of the system.
Man, if we had people in Congress and the Senate that were that educated on the crypto market, we would have had regulation a long time ago. That was beautifully done. Beautifully done. All right, we got to ban some of these people with the scam. Are you guys on it? Thank you so much. So if you listen to what French Hill was saying there, right? If it passed today, Circle or USDT wouldn't be there. So banks, these 4 big banks, understand that compliance is the number one thing. Who would they go to for this stablecoin? Now, you have to think about this. When I did all the research for this, like it came very clear that banks are not too interested in building their own blockchain networks. Okay? Because they want to have the liquidity of a public blockchain, but they also want the privacy, you know, of private chains, right? And so I could see a way that these 4 banks already working with Ripple, right, in some capacity, in some way, could create, I don't know what you'd even call it, right? America's super dollar or something. I don't know, but it's interesting to hear that obviously USDT wouldn't qualify because it's not even in the United States. Now, they did bring up Trump's, whole thing. I don't want to say that it couldn't happen, but I think there would be a conflict of interest if America's new super stable coin was issued by World Liberty Financial. I just think there might be a problem there. So obviously I think they would be going to like Ripple or other, maybe PayPal or something like that. But it's very interesting, and I'm going to keep track of all of this stuff and update you guys when I have some more information. It does look like Ondo was mentioned in the World Economic Forum Tokenized Asset 2025 report. WEF has 1,000 member companies, typically with over 5 billion in turnover. And they do mention Ondo here, talking about tokenized U.S. Treasury products. Here's Ondo down here. They also mention Franklin Templeton's Benji, which you just heard French Hill mentioning as well. I did want to talk about the SUI, the hack that's happened on the Cetus hack. $223 million gone, $6 million on the table. It wasn't a glitch. It was a heist. Fake tokens, overflow exploit, 22,000 Ethereum exit. Now there's a $6 million bounty being offered to get the money back. This is not, anytime you have fraud and things like that in the crypto space, it obviously doesn't help. But this definitely did happen. And I don't know, Cetus might be done here. To get $223 million drained out of your whole thing is pretty rough. But Raoul Pal's biggest investment in the crypto space right now is SUI. 70% of Raoul Pal's portfolio is SUI. Check this out.
I'm massively overweight SUI.
Oversold.
Massively.
Can I ask you, percentages wise, more or less?
I'm definitely over 70% SUI, and that's not anything to do with the foundation that I'm on. That's my just capital allocation of my savings. And simple, it's not because I'm on the foundation and people are like, hey, he's just shilling his coin. It's because the fucking chart of Solana, SUI versus Solana broke out, and Solana was the strongest horse in the race. Christian, who's the head of the foundation, his opening question now to projects that want to work with SUI is like, well, show me the path to 1 billion users. Right, because it's built for that scale. And if you're leading with questions like that, is like, yeah, okay, it's interesting you building this, whatever, but is this going to bring me 1 billion users? If it's not of high priority. And so their mindset is really big. And they back it up by, all of the projects that they've been launching. So,
hey, mods, will you make sure that you are banning the spammers of this shit token, please? I'm kind of doing it myself over here. I kind of need your guys' help to help me get rid of that. Okay. All right. So that was a really cool thing. I've been telling you guys to buy SUI since it was 70 cents. I get up here every single week and I give you more SUI news. SUI is the next Solana. Okay. I don't know how else to say it. I'm still buying SUI. Okay. So Aloha Kame says, Aloha Sensei, I have an insider at SBI Holdings that when XRP reaches a certain market price, they will be selling off their XRP holdings. Have you heard about this? Actually, I haven't. You have connections that, I don't have. And that's really interesting to know. What kind of price? If you are a financial institution, right, you're obviously your whole company, you have analysts and market researchers and all these different people, right? You have to have, where you're going to take profit, where you're going to get out, your stop losses, like what you're trying to achieve. That's usually all mapped out. And it's usually done by like supercomputers and AI and all of this stuff, right? So does it shock me that SBI has a plan? Absolutely not. I think it would shock me if they didn't have a plan. But SBI's plans, they are looking at XRP at $2.50. They are looking at, speculation, this and that. They're really not saying, if XRP is used by 5% of the world to do this, it could be this. They're not looking at any of that. They're not looking at the speculation side. They just are looking at how much it's worth today. Where do we need to take profit to be successful and such on. So I thank you for the $10. I really appreciate you asking the question. I don't think it's a huge deal, man. And I hope that explanation helps you better understand. All right. But hey, hit me up on Twitter. Let's better communicate. I'd love to better understand what kind of price we're talking about here. I promise to keep it to myself, SBI ain't selling it off. So like, that's another thing too, right? SBI's current XRP holdings are worth more than all of like the SBI subsidiaries together. So, once you sell it, unless you plan to buy it back at a lower price, it's gone. And I don't know if SBI really understands how important XRP is to this new system. You know, we're all right now, we're just speculating. We're speculating on speculation, right? So we're like 3 layers deep into speculation. I just think I think it's all good. Chip the spam buster. Yeah, we got a good team here trying to keep the chat safe, man. The more spammers and bots and we ban, the more pissed off the people are trying to scam people, and then they send even more bots. And so it's kind of like this war. It would be nice if YouTube did something about it, but that's maybe asking too much. All right, Michael P with the $10. Man, you guys are beautiful today. Even if the banks want to work together, do you think the banks will still use XRP? I think that the banks are going to have the option to use XRP. Will they use XRP in every transaction? No. Often stablecoins are a much easier asset, since they don't have this, worth 250 1 second, worth 240 the next second, right? There's not this huge swing in volatility. So using stablecoins is probably going to be one of the key cornerstones of all this. But if you're using RLUSD on the XRP ledger, anytime that you send and do a transaction, you're going to need XRP with the gas, right? So we're just going to have to see how much volume, how much value. And I do think banks are still going to build their own, stable coins. I mean, you just saw this. How many times have I told you in the past that banks are going to create their own stable coins? Like I've told you this until I'm blue in the face, right? And like I go through the comments on my videos sometimes, and there are people that absolutely believe this, and there are people that don't believe it, right? And I think as time goes on, and as we better understand when we get these updates and these news clips, that we have been actually very accurate in calling this, what is it going to look like moving forward? That's still to be seen, but we'll keep a close eye on it. I really do appreciate the $10 gift. Thank you so much. That goes directly to Luna's snack fund. And man, she's already got $30 today. She's going to be real happy this weekend. Dang, now we got Jamie Lindsay with $19.99. Jamie, thank you so much, Jamie. I really, really appreciate it. Did you have a question or anything that I could bring up? I've done that before too. I've sent money and I forgot to put a question in there. So I'll be looking for your question, Jamie, if you have one. So thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate you. You are a saint. Let's see here. Adam says hedge funds will be tokenizing themselves going forward. And so will some of the family offices as well. Yeah, I think that's the future, right? Of all of this, the tokenization of financial assets. Just how long is it going to take? I think that's the real question that people have. Let's see here. Sal says, Sensei, can you please make SUI price prediction for 2025? Ooh, so any price predictions are just wild guesstimates. Like I am not a TA or chart person. So I mean, I can't tell you what the 618 is or whatever else. I can tell you, I've seen people throwing out numbers like $25 or $50. I've even seen people say SUI to $100 in 2025, which that would be freaking insane. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you to better understand where we are market cap wise compared to some other stuff. So currently SUI sitting at about 12 billion market cap, right? If you compare this to Solana is at 91 billion. So if SUI did a 6x or 7x from its current price, you would be looking at a $25, $30 SUI with the same market cap as Solana currently. I do think Solana is going to find its way, to $600, $800, maybe $1,000 if it's all crazy. And I do think SUI can reach, I eventually think SUI will be, $1,000, but like this could be 5 or 10 years down the line. Like this could be much larger down the line, but there's real developers building real world applications. And, if you miss Solana, SUI is where you could probably gain a lot from. All right. Aloha Kame. became a member of the channel. Thank you so much, guys. Like being a member of the channel really does help out. You know, if you have like $5 a month that you want to support me and the Seals and Luna Bear, love you, man. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really do appreciate you. All right, Michael P with the $5. Do you see XRP hitting double digits by 2026, 2027? Yeah, double digits, like $10, man. I would be shocked if XRP didn't hit $10 in 2025. Like, I would be just flat out shocked. I mean, you know, if people are saying Bitcoin's going to 500 grand or something, like, you don't think XRP could 2-3x? It's going to come down to like ETFs. It's going to come down to adoption and news and announcements. But let me ask you this question. If we're all speculating here, if tomorrow they announce that Ripple was acquiring Circle, what do you like? People would FOMO. I think. I think I would be shocked if you didn't see XRP's price, go up a few dollars for that, specific thing. So I definitely think you're going to see over $10. How high, much over that? I couldn't tell you, but I definitely feel. I mean, I've seen people like Jake Claver think, if all things go right, he could see XRP reaching a 3-digit or 4-digit value in 2025. It comes down to like how many tokens are available, circulating. Is there going to be a run on XRP if some of these announcements happen? There's all of these little factors that could play a big role into the price. I definitely think there's some room for growth though. All right, Nick's just became a member too. Wow, we are on fires today. Thank you so much. Richard, great to see you, man. Thank you for being here. 589 360 Circle. That's pretty cool. Solage FA. Thank you for sharing that with us, man. D Ash says, I'm with you first thing in the morning, Sensei, and my 1 cup of coffee to start my day nicely. D Ash, thank you so much for being here. So happy to have you, man. And good morning to you. Good morning to you. Indeed, sir. Oh, thank you, Lakota. Appreciate you. How are you? I hope you're having a great Friday. It's so exciting. Lizard King is here. What's up, Lizard King? Great to see you, man. I hope you're doing well, my friend. All right, let's get back to the news, guys, because there's still a lot of other stuff to get to. We got 1,800 people in the channel. It is feeling good. We are vibing. It is Friday. Let's go ahead and learn a little bit more about what's happening in the crypto space. So we talked about SUI, guys. Seriously, please go take a look at SUI. You will thank me later. You will say, Sensei, you were right. And you know how I know I'm right? Because Raoul Paul is usually right. And that guy really believes in SUI. And don't sleep on Raoul Paul. All right. This is something that I've been looking into the last few days. I've seen several people posting a very similar to this. Serve easy play for 100x to flip virtual 4 billion market cap. So some of these assets, guys, like it really depends on like what your risk tolerance is. Obviously, the higher the risk, the more chance of you losing everything, as well as the higher chance of maybe you hitting a really big home run. If you invest in like the top 5 or top 10 tokens, you're only going to get so much play, right? Only so much can happen in a speculation market. But, there are some of these assets that really do have a chance to do some insane numbers. Virtuals did get to a 4 billion market cap. This is sitting at about 36 million. Let me go ahead and pull this up, see if we can get some more information on Serve here. Open Serve. Yeah, this is it right here. So this is automate any task with multi-agent teams connecting all AI agents, frameworks, and on-chains, powering a new agent-based apps. So, this is extremely popular. If you can imagine over the next 5 to 10 years, more and more people are going to want and use AI agents for work, for fashion, for play, for whatever it is. I would imagine people are going to have multiple of these. So when you have the opportunity to, invest in the infrastructure for this, right? We don't know if all of this is going to make it, but we do know that some of this stuff is very undervalued right now. And I think this is something that I think I'm going to make a move here, put a few $1,000 into this one. I just want to see if I can, talk with the team and get a little bit more information. but this is definitely something that I am interested into and I'm actively pursuing right now. So I'll leave you guys the Twitter account if you want to take a look at that. Let's go ahead and keep getting into this information. I probably shouldn't have hit that button. Let's go bring it back up here. Okay. We did hear that the SEC is delaying its decision for the Bitwise and CoinShares XRP ETF. Unfortunate. We don't know what's actually happening with that. We will have to see how all this unfolds. There's another interesting thing here too. Check this out. BlackRock's Buildle eligible investors will have access to trade on the XRP ledger via the Hidden Road Komianu Connect. All right. So here is, this is actually from October 17th. So this is even before Ripple bought Hidden Road, but it does have connections in here to this larger platform and BlackRock, which is pretty unique and cool. I just saw that new news today. There's also this news: the DTCC Digital Launchpad is a sandbox for innovation. It's live, quadrillions on chain. I'm going to be going through this in a much more detailed specification probably later on today or tomorrow morning. I will try to get this video out tomorrow to you guys. Usually after these chats are done, my brain is fried. And I want to be fresh and good when I go through all this. So, but some really cool information happening there. And of course, JP Morgan's North America Equity Research Report published earlier this month puts XRP in the spotlight, even stating the digital asset is poised for significant adoption. So, JP Morgan understands the technology, right? Remember, JP Morgan isn't Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon, yes, is the CEO. And his views on specific items are his views. The bank itself is all about making money. And if they feel that they can make money as well as help their customers and give them their customers more value, they're going to do it. And so it's really great to see these type of reports coming out. I just wanted to give you an update on the JOS, right? We brought this up. I brought this up to you guys in a chat a few weeks ago. I am still holding this actual asset currently, and I just wanted to go ahead and show you this. So I had originally posted this. Let me see here. Is that right? Okay, cool. So I originally posted this in Cryptonaires, and of course I brought it up in Sensei Chats. And so this is currently sitting at about 14 million. This had a low and a bottom of about 5 million. That's when I reminded Cryptonaires members about this. If you want to take a look at what this actually does, let me go ahead and show you this. So this is, comparing this to other projects and technologies similar. So you have SNAI, which has reached 132 million. The Hive, which is Buzz, 189 million. Swarms, 577 million. Wayfinder Prompt 610 million, and then Eliza OS 3.5 billion. And if you take a look at, here's Julia OS compared to all of these other technologies, as you can see, blockchain, swarm intelligence, high performance language, real-time execution, decentralized, cross-chain compatible, open source modular, DeFi AI focus, and then MCP. So I'm still standing behind this one. I still think this is going to be one of those that could really take off. And I wouldn't be surprised if that should happen. So wanted to just remind you that that was there sitting at about 15 million. I wanted to give that to you. Oh, we have another donation. Man, you guys are just on fire today. Aloha Sensei for Luna Bear Funds. Hope surgery goes well. My gang of buddies all hold SUI because of you. I love to hear that, man. I love to hear that. Hey, when SUI tops out and you guys cash out and you have a big party, just remember, I'm here. I could jump on a plane. I could be to the Big Island in no time, my friend. All right. I'm so glad to hear it. Anytime that I could give people information that helps them better understand the market, that helps them make money and have a better life, man, that's huge. I'm so glad to hear it. I'm so glad to hear it. You're gonna make me get emotional here. That's really great, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for the $20 too. All right, let's keep it going here, ladies and gentlemen. We did have some new information coming to light. Let's see if I have that. No, you know what? I'm not going to focus on that. Let's keep it going here. There are other people so this was kind of disappointing, and I'll share this with you. Okay. So, for a long time, I personally been trying to get a hold of Ripple the company. Like I really wanted to sit down with anybody, right? I wanted to maybe, I mean, my dream obviously is to interview somebody like Brad Garlinghouse or Monica Long, right? Brad's of course the ultimate dream, but I wanted to like talk with either Marcus Ingfanger or Mr. Wallace. I mean, there's so many people in Ripple that I would like to better understand what they're doing. And so I've been really actively trying to reach out to the Ripple team through LinkedIn, through Twitter, and all these places. And so I reached out to Crypto Erie, and she gave me the name of a person that I reached out to, and his name is Dan. Okay. And so Dan and I went back and forth on email for quite some time, maybe like a week and a half, something like that, you know, back and forth trying to set up like a time to meet. And Dan said, hey, I can meet on Thursday at 10 a.m. Hawaii time. I said, absolutely, I'll be there. We sent the meeting link. I show up. I sit there for about 15 to 20 minutes. Dan doesn't show up. Said, no big deal. I've missed a meeting before. You know, I'll reach out to him and reschedule. So reached out to him. He apologized for missing the meeting. And then he said, tomorrow, same time, you know, be there. And I said, you know what? I will absolutely be there, Dan. I'm really looking forward to it. I think you know where this is going. I show up to the meeting and Dan is nowhere to be found. I messaged Dan, I emailed Dan, and it was just left a really bad taste in my mouth, right? Because for the last 5 years, I have actively spent my entire life trying to better understand and help educate people on Ripple and XRP. And I thought there would be just maybe a little bit more level of respect there and compassion and whatever it was. But that unfortunately didn't go the way that I would have liked it to go. So I finally said to Dan that, hey, I appreciate whatever this was, but you know, I'll try to, you know, work and talk to somebody else since, you know, this really doesn't seem to be a priority for you. And so I was really kind of saddened by that. And I hope that's not like my only story dealing with somebody on the Ripple team. I think maybe Dan was just going through a lot, but you know, he's the one who set up the times and he was the one who kept missing. And so just didn't make me feel good. But anyways, so, you know, Dan Fisher is reposting all of this stuff. Okay. Big banks explore venturing into crypto world, you know, all of this stuff. I'm starting to wonder, like, maybe is there something that we don't know that's going to be announced soon? It just is interesting that Dan's reposting all of this stuff. Hopefully we'll get some more information soon. And you know what, if anyone actually has any real connections at Ripple, right? And if you think they would be interested in talking with me, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Twitter, or if you come into the Cryptonaires Discord, you can send me a DM. But you know, I really have some good questions that I'd love to ask. And you know, it's all about you guys, right? I want to ask them questions so you and I can help better understand what it is they're doing. So just unfortunate, all good. Won't be the last time that I am let down in my life. I will get off my sob story. All right. SEC's UADA talks about crypto tokenization and regulations on Bloomberg TV. Now, what I want you to pay attention to here is you are now having different bodies of government, right? Different agencies going on mainstream TV, right? This is Bloomberg TV, or a lot of, you know, institution, a lot of people investing or watching this, and they're actively talking about the positives around the crypto space. I can't tell you how bullish this is. Let me go ahead and play some of this information. I mean, obviously let me play.
On tokenization and the ability to do this, to trade equities 24/7 and have this new mechanism for it.
Yeah, well, certainly we've gone through numerous technological changes over the history of the stock markets. Remember, we were in paper, then we went to uncertificated securities, and then we went to what we have roughly today, book entries on various financial institutions. Now, tokenization is possibly another step forward in how we do the markets. You know, one thing that a lot of investors don't realize is the significant amount of resources that go into what they call the back office operations. That means a lot of reconciling between positions among financial institutions, DTC and SEC. So again, those are acronyms that hopefully most people don't know about because they do their job without
you know what those acronyms are.
Anyone ever noticing that they're doing it right. So we've always been open to experimentation on this.
How would this work? I mean, is there a framework in place for approving or denying which tokens would be created, or are you in the process of putting that together? Who would be able to issue the tokens? I have so many questions about it.
Well, these are things that we want to engage with market participants. Exactly what do you propose to do when it comes to tokenization of securities positions? And more importantly, what type of safeguards are you going to have in place to protect investors and to guard against conflicts of interest?
All right, let's keep it going here, guys. I did see some comments in the chat about the story. You know, it kind of sucks, but you know, I didn't want to make like a whole video about it because I really don't want to like bash anybody. I was so excited. And like, you know, when you're like, you know, you finally get a meeting after like I've sent hundreds of LinkedIn messages and emails. And like, when you finally got a response, the meeting set up, like, and then it was just bad. All right, let's keep going. A lot of information coming out with the DTCC now, talking about how the U.S. stock market will, you know, soon be tokenized and kind of what this looks like. I'll be doing a complete video roundup on this here in just a little bit for you guys. I also wanted to show you this. If you haven't seen my recent video where I talked about these 2 new stablecoins that were launched on the XRP ledger, this is actually a pretty cool time to just talk about this really quickly. So you have a euro-backed stablecoin from the Schumann Financial Group. It's called Europe, which is a dope name for a stablecoin. And you also have USBD, which is a US dollar-backed stablecoin for the Braza Group in Brazil. So it says bonjour and bom dia. And so just looking at some of this, it talks about, you know, the compliance and what this is. But what I wanted to get into, I'm not going to go through all this because I went through in my video. But what I want to show you here, guys, is more and more stable coins are being launched on the XRP ledger every single day. I like, what was it? Just last week or 2 weeks ago, I was doing a video. Crypto Eerie was able to show that Zago had 6 new stable coins on the XRP ledger. I mean, well, like, we're getting 2 new, 3 new, 4 new each month right now. And as this whole ecosystem develops, like the key interesting part here is when you have all of these financial institutions building a stablecoin on the XRP ledger, you know, JP Morgan, Citibank, you know, all these people are looking at Ripple creating all of these stable coins with these partners, right? Gave them the technology. They're creating their own stable coins. I think this is kind of leading to exactly where we need to be. I saw Kame with another $10 here. Let's see what you said right here. Sensei, I'm here on a Wahoo. Shoot. All right, man. Hey, send me a DM on Twitter. All right, here. Let's just make sure you got the right Twitter, though, because I know there's a lot of impersonators. So let me just show you here. This is my Twitter account. I finally got it back, 58,400. Send me a DM, man, and I would love to do that, man. Absolutely. I'll bring the wife. We'll come for some barbecue, man. We'll bring some, you know, some pokey or something, some mac salad. Ooh, let me know, man. I love it. All right, what else we got here? There is a bad moon horizon Zebec. Yeah, Zebec's on fire, man. If you guys don't know what we're talking about here, let me just pull this up for you. Here you go. 227 million. So much room for growth here, guys. So much room for growth. Like this is definitely something you should be paying attention to right now. I do like how a lot of the circulating supply is already out there, which is 79 billion. Man, load up. If I had like 10,000 bucks to put in the market today, and I wanted to make sure that I put this money in assets that I know that, you know, will still be here by the end of this bull market, I'd probably spread around between like XRP, some ADA, definitely some Zebec, you know, maybe some HBAR, and then I'd probably put like $500, maybe, you know, 250. I'd kind of range where that need to be in something a little bit more risky. Obviously, something like this one, the Julia OS or JOS, build on Julia. Right. This is something that, you know, I would be interested in taking a little bit of a risk, because if this follows these other tokens, it goes to like 400 million or 500 million. That could be a nice 30 or 40x for me. So, you know, I would take maybe 80% of that money and put it into stuff that I know for sure is still going to be here, right? And then I would probably take about 20% of it and be a little bit more loosey-goosey and try to really kind of supercharge my back through that. We got to understand, guys, we are still in like a speculation market. And I know we get all of this news and it feels like we're not in a speculation market anymore, but I can tell you 100% we are not at that utility point yet, because if we were, you would start to see how, like, you would start to see a shift in the world's global transactions being done on blockchain. We haven't seen that yet. And that is when when we're really going to be able to understand what the actual price of these assets should be. All right. We just hit 2,000 people watching, guys. This has been a fun ride here. Let me show you what I see if you guys are interested to take a look at this. So when I am staring at the screen here, on the top of the screen, on the left side, there's this number. It says 2,000, and we got 1,381 of you watching on Twitter and 668 watching on YouTube. I can't thank you guys enough for the support. It really is incredible when I can get up here and just, share all of this stuff with, 2,000 people, which is freaking insane. I'll tell you a funny story. Just really quickly. During the bear market, right? We did these chats during the bear market, and sometimes I'd get up there and I'd have a 2-hour chat prepared, and there would be like 8 people, right? 7 people, 8 people in the chat, and I took those chats even as seriously as I take these chats, right? I try to bring as much value in this short amount of time as possible, because I know your time is very valuable, and you don't have, gazillion hours a day to do all this. So I was reflecting, over the last few days, going from, 8 or 10 people to 2,000, and it's, it feels like more responsibility, but it also feels really good to have each one of you guys here. And I just want you to know, I really appreciate you guys. Okay. All right, let's get back to it. There are a few other things that we should talk about, because these things are affecting the current crypto market. And then I want to answer as many questions as I can from you guys. Okay. So let's better understand, I live in the United States. The United States is the biggest financial market in the world. So if we can better understand what's happening in the US, maybe we can better understand what might happen globally with some of these other markets. All right. So the US housing market is currently, US housing affordability has never been worse. The inflation adjusted Case-Shiller home price index, that is a mouthful, is set to break above the 300 for the first time in history. Normally, home prices have skyrocketed 143% since 2011 per Reventure. Adjusted for inflation, home prices have risen 66% during the same time period. Furthermore, inflation adjusted home prices are now 12% higher during the peak of the 2006 peak. To put it into perspective, from the 1890s to the 1990s, inflation adjusted prices never exceeded their long-term trend by more than 15%. How is this sustainable? So it does look like the current housing market is sitting on a really big bubble. Hold on. Apologies. Let me show you this too. We did talk about that. Sorry, I don't need to get into that. I wanted to shoot. I'll come back to this. Okay, here. So people were asking like, what's going on with the market here? So let's better understand this. Okay. The markets were pumping, and then we've had this this recent dump, and the recent dump, a lot of people believe was because of this tweet that was sent out. President Trump's recommending a straight 50% tariff on the European Union starting June 1st. And so that caused some of the markets to fall into a little bit of panic. Obviously, when we have these deals that kind of keep starting and stopping, it's very difficult for companies to plan forward. And so I wanted to better understand like how many trade deals have been done so far and how many haven't. Here is the update on that, because I know some of you guys are interested in this. United States has signed comprehensive free trade agreements with 20 countries. Nearly all other countries are now subject to new tariffs, typically 10% baseline. So here are like the US's top trading partners. 20 countries the US has comprehensive FTAs enforced with the following 20 countries. And then recent deals, you got the United Kingdom deal. So that's one. And then the China deal is a preliminary deal, which is actually not signed. So this is more of like a verbal agreement. And so this could be changed at any time. There was news, though, that there might be a deal with India in the next 7 to 10 days. Okay. We did talk about the housing affordability. U.S. Treasury's Bassett says more trade deals will be announced within the 90-day period delay. If you're unfamiliar with what this 90-day period is, the original tariffs were put on all of these countries at the beginning of April. After about a week of just record-breaking losses in the stock market, there was a pause put on a lot of these countries and their tariffs. That pause goes till July 9th. So all of these deals either need to be renegotiated by July 9th, or there needs to be an extension past July 9th, or all of these tariffs will go into effect on July 9th. Those are the three options that we currently have. We'll have to see how all of that plays out. But this is kind of what happens when you bring up a 50% tariff on the EU. $1.5 trillion basically has been erased in the stock market because of those tweets. All right. You also, many Americans, even renting a home has become a little bit more unaffordable. Median rents exceed $2,000, so it's a lot harder for people living paycheck to paycheck to live currently. And then, of course, President Trump says that he will be imposing a 25% tariff on Samsung products if they are not made in the United States. We did take a look at what happened with the drop after the tariffs on the S&P, right? This dip. I did want to show you something. The actual we looked at this data on Tuesday, and this was at a 38%. Now, fast forward 3 days after the mention of the thing, now a recession is 43% chance of a recession in 2025. We talked about this. We talked about this. I mean, this is all because of the tweets, right? Like, if we weren't tweeting about 50% tariffs on the European Union, you probably wouldn't have had this. But, these markets have shown themselves to go down a few trillion, and then go back up a few trillion. It really just depends on how Trump is feeling that day and what he's tweeting out. Okay. So I'm not going to get into this too much. You kind of understand what's affecting the market. I did want to take a look at something that this was said here, because I want to get in on the fine details of what this all means, right? So Trump says iPhones should be sold in the United States. Okay. I wanted to take a look at how difficult would it be to move Apple's infrastructure from China to the US. Like, is it even possible? How much would it cost for iPhone? And so I dug into that. So it says, Trump tweeted this out about Tim Cook. He says, I have long informed Tim Cook and Apple that I expect their phones that will be sold in the United States of America to be manufactured and built in the United States, not India or any place else. If that is not the case, a 25% tariff must be paid by Apple. And so I wanted to understand this, right? How many parts go into making an iPhone? Is it possible to shift the whole supply chain to the United States? And if it's possible, how long would it take to shift the whole supply chain? All right. So iPhones consist of hundreds of individual components through major suppliers, contributing about 34 critical parts. And here are some of the parts. For example, an iPhone 6S, I don't know why it's bringing up a 6S, but it has components from 8 countries. Samsung supplying displays for chips, Sony providing cameras, Bosch contributing to sensors, smaller parts like screws, connections, and adhesives further increase the total count. And so if an iPhone was made in the United States, it could triple the cost of an iPhone, which would make pretty much iPhone unaffordable for everybody, right? The only people who would be able to afford an iPhone would probably be, people that have extra spending money, let's just say. Because like $3,000 is a lot for an iPhone, right? Or any phone, right? You already have people not wanting to pay $1,500 or $2,000 for a phone. Can you imagine if it was triple the price? So with relocation costs, about $30 billion. So Apple would need to invest $30 billion probably into the United States to get all this stuff done. It would take a little over 3 years, probably to a decade, to move Apple's infrastructure to the United States. Yeah, the U.S. lacks a dense supplier network. So the reason it's going to be so difficult is all of these suppliers that all get sent to like China and now India. These supply chains have taken decades with a D to set up, and you can't just shift manufacturing of a product overnight, right? You have to build the factories, you have to set up the supply chains. It's going to take a whole lot of work to do this. And I think everybody can agree that this is very complicated. Okay. And then so China's Foxconn employs 1 million workers for iPhone assembly, a scale unmatched in the US. So another thing is, can you find the labor here in America to do this? If you remember, over the last few months, the US has been cutting, the US has been going after a lot of illegal immigrants and things like that. And we're making it, the US is making it more difficult for people to seek asylum and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to get at here is you don't have the workforce to do this. All right. And so, $50 billion would have to go into doing this first to facilitates an automation. And so you can imagine this is just Apple phones. So any other product that is made in China or any of these other countries that comes to the US are going to have very similar issues. This is just not iPhone related. What I'm trying to show you here is how complicated all of this is. Okay. You'd have to relocate 1,000 suppliers, which 90% of those suppliers are based in Asia. A fully made US iPhone remains economically unviable due to the cost, infrastructure gaps, and geopolitical realities. Apple's pragmatic approach prioritizes partial diversification to India and Vietnam while absorbing $900 million in tariffs, a lesser cost than a full relocation for consumers. A full made in America USA iPhone would cost 2 to 3x the current price and would take 10 years to materialize. So I just don't think that's going to be very possible in the near future. And I don't know if forcing companies to do this is the right thing, but we're going to see how it plays out. Good thing I'm not a president. I'm not in control. So I'm just going to give you all the facts and we'll see how it plays out. Okay. There is some other stuff here. There is a new bill that was pushed forward in Congress. It's called the Big Beautiful Bill. And this is a piece of Trump's major legislation. What I wanted to better understand of what's in the bill and is there any crypto related things in the bill? Because I was asked this. And so here we go. Major tax cuts and extensions. The bill makes 2017 Trump tax cuts permanent, preventing their expiration at the end of 2025. New tax cuts and updates. No taxes on tips. This was a promise made on the campaign trail. This is through 2028, though. So if this is passed and this stays how it is, they would have to renew this in 2028 to keep it going. But in the meantime, this would be the law of the land. No taxes on overtime pay, which would definitely help out everyday families. Love to see that. Tax deductions up to $10,000 on interest for auto loans. So right now, people are paying an awful lot of interest because rates are higher. This would allow people to have a little bit easier way of life to get maybe some of that money back that they are paying on interest. You also have a temporary $500 increase in the child tax credit, raising that to $2,500. So that would definitely help out families. And then you also have higher state and local SALT deduction caps, $40,000 for married couples, with incomes up to $500,000 in 2025. It does have some changes to Medicaid and social programs. I really don't want to get into this. If you want to pause the screen and read them, please do. It does talk about border security and immigration. Once again, if you want to read this, please do. Support for small business and families, makes the 20% small business deduction permanent, which will, in fact, help small businesses. Expands 529 education savings accounts and makes paid leave tax credits permanent. renews and enhances opportunity zone programs to spur investment, which is great. Provides tax relief and support for farmers and ranchers, which right now, farmers are one of the hardest hit because of tariffs. If you remember in Trump's first term, farmers took a $26 billion haircut due to tariffs on China. Something very similar is happening. So farmers need help, and this would help them. Modernizes air traffic control with $12.5 billion. The crazy part is this was actually passed under the Biden administration in the infrastructure bill. I don't know why this was never pushed through, but upgrading the airport and infrastructure is very important. So it's good to see that this money is earmarked a second time. Increases taxes on large universities and endowments. I don't think that's really helpful for anybody. Repeals or phases out clean energy tax credits. So there would be no more clean energy tax credits for companies and businesses. I don't know how that's going to affect it, but that's in it. Issues the bill seeks to address economic growth and tax relief, border security. We talked about the social program reforms, support for rural and Main Street, and then government modernization, which would be really good to see. As far as crypto related topics in the bill, looks like there's some remittance and tax crypto information. The bill includes a new excise tax on remittance transfers, which could impact crypto users. The tax is set at 3.5%, down from 5% initially, and applies to remittance transfers. So this is actually cheaper and better, sounds like. So that's good. The tax controversial for privacy reasons, as it could increase financial surveillance and complicate compliance for exchanges. However, it does not currently force intermediaries to identify customers or cover for all crypto transactions. So there's nothing in here about I know a lot of people are asking if there's stuff in here for oh my God, what is it? Capital gains taxes. That never made it into the bill. So, I think when we were all hoping that we wouldn't have to pay capital gains on our XRP and all that stuff. None of that is in the bill. Okay. There's also stablecoin regulation, but that's a separate part of this Genius Act. And so here, all of this stuff, if you want to take a look at this, I will leave the link for this in the chat here below. I also wanted to better understand a few things in here. Let me show you what else I wanted to show you here too. I wanted to ask how it seems like there's a lot of credits and tax credits for all kinds of people in here. How is that going to affect America's deficit? And so right now, the bill passed the House. The Senate has already said that there's going to be some major changes on the bill. And so right now, the one bit of big, beautiful bill would add about $3.8 trillion more to the deficit in 2026 to 2034. So another almost about $4 trillion added on. We're already at about 37 trillion. This wouldn't be surprising, but that's basically what we're looking at, roughly about $3.8 to $4 trillion added onto the deficit. And then I really wanted to better understand, at what point is America's no turning back point for our debt? And I think this is a much more complicated question that I'm not really prepared to get into just yet. But anyways, that's what's in the bill. There is not too much crypto related stuff in the bill, unfortunately. All right. All right, let's do this. I've given you all kinds of information. Let's spend some time answering your questions now. All right. I am here for you. And let's go ahead and better understand it. Oh, what's up, the original? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Going to the gold and silver standard for the dollar and eliminating the Fed would also help. I think there's a lot of things that would also help, my friend. But thank you for letting us know. XRP just got sued again. Well, XRP is a decentralized blockchain. Do you mean Ripple was sued again? Ripple sued. I mean, you can't sue a blockchain. I don't see anything on here about a new Ripple lawsuit. Let's see, Twitter. Please don't say there's a new lawsuit. April 18th, May 17th. I don't know what exactly you're talking about. I haven't seen anything XRP Maxi. Do you have an article or something that we can take a look at? Do you think SoCal Lolo? What's up, Lolo? Lolo. Do you think SUI price will go lower over the next few days? So it really depends on like the trade stuff. I think we've had a lot of examples of tweets talking about higher tariffs negatively impact the market. So, you know, it's really hard to guess what will be tweeted next. If you see more tweets about higher tariffs, expect the market to keep adjusting downward. We are getting into the summer months, and usually the summer months are slower. It's interesting to see Bitcoin hitting 11,000, 112,000. I think, you know, there's July 9th will be when like tariffs are going to be go full blast on. Like, I think that could have a negative impact on the overall health of the market. But then people might be dumping the stock market to get into the crypto market. We are like mid bull run. So very difficult. Obviously, a strategy that you could use is the DCA strategy. Like you could, you know, if you wanted to invest $10,000 into SUI, you know, today you might go like 2,000, and then tomorrow like 1,000, and then if it goes lower next week, you put another 1,000. You know, like you could DCA your position down. That's probably the best thing to do, unless you have a crystal ball that really tells you what's going to happen. There's a lot of really complicated economic policies that are going to come to a head in the next 45 days. So that could really negatively impact the market if not handled appropriately. So we're going to have to see how all that plays out, but I will keep you updated as much as I can. And love the name SoCal. Love it. Thank you for the question too. You never looked into SUI? Now I'm digging info. What do you all love about it? Here, Roxanne, I got you. Roxanne. All right, let's take a look at this SUI ecosystem. All right. SUI leads all blockchain and stablecoin inflows in the past 24 hours, 83.4 million, which means liquidity is moving to SUI. People are moving value onto the SUI ecosystem. Okay. So that's one thing. And here is the map of the growth. A few months ago, this was probably half full. I would imagine in 6 months from now, this is going to be even larger. So here are the dexes, right? So you just had this big hack on the Cetus dex. Something that I've learned over the past 5 years being in the crypto space, when you have a up and coming blockchain, some of the best investments for that particular blockchain are investing in the dexes, right? Because if you know people will be coming to use dexes on this network, investing in the dex is also a way to make some pretty nice gains. So, you know, like a long time ago, I was telling you like Turbo's finance. This was something you probably should have got into. And this went up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of a percent as more things started to happen on the SUI ecosystem. And so they have NFTs. Here's some meme coins on SUI that will probably pop off pretty well. You have infrastructure, gaming, you have wallets, liquid staking, on-chain staking. There's so much stuff here, right? And so when you look at developers developing, SUI is one of the hottest networks right now that are being built on top of. All right. So Welt, great to see you. Do you feel that ETFs are going to create volatility with big money, Little Rock? So, I mean, to create volatility, they would actually need to buy in first, right? And it's not BlackRock buying and selling. It is people that have a BlackRock account that are buying and selling, right? So it is, so BlackRock is, you know, has to buy Bitcoin to fund their ETF, right? That is, you know, a certain amount of Bitcoin, whatever it is. So, you know, if the demand is there, obviously you're going to have upward trajectory. And then if it gets rocky from there, people might sell and do that kind of thing. But I would imagine banks and institutions would need to buy it first before they could start dumping. XRP King says, that's exactly my hopes too. All we can do is hold tight and trust that Trump is one of the few that really cares about more than padding his wallet. I don't know. Like, Nope, not gonna engage. Not gonna engage. Let's keep it going. What's your opinion on Dog ruins Bitcoin? So that was like the first runes, like meme coin or whatever. We talked about that. God, I don't know how long ago. Like when that was first came out. I mentioned it a few times, but we didn't really drill too much onto that. I haven't paid attention to it maybe in like 6 months or something, so I really can't get into it too much. Yeah, man. I what I wanted to say probably wouldn't have come out like the way I wanted to say it, and it wasn't worth it. So control. Any thoughts on Metis? Wow, I haven't heard Metis brought up in a long time. I haven't done any research on Metis recently, so I probably wouldn't be the best person to ask about that. I do apologize. I wish I could help you. Trust but verify. Fair. How many positions do you during a bull run? So this is a great question. I can tell you where I messed up in the first bull market I was a part of, the 2020, 2021 cycle. I can tell you that I bought way too much, like way too many tokens, and I could not keep up with it. I had like 200 tokens, and I thought I was like really cool, because I owned all of these different assets, and it was too much to manage. Realistically, if you can keep your, I know some people that only have like 5 or 10. Realistically, once you get past like 20 or 30 assets, it's very difficult to keep up with just the news on a few of them, let alone everything. So, it depends what you can handle, right? And what you can't. What you don't want to do is you don't want to get yourself into a position where you're overwhelmed, because if you are overwhelmed and you can't get good data, right, on what you hold, you might make mistakes, and mistakes can be very costly, and they costed me a lot. So hope you don't make those same mistakes. All right, Chipper with the $5. Shuri work at play. The certified window CO Ltd has a question. What was the question? What did I miss? At certified window has a question. At certified window. Let me see. Certified window. Let's see. Is this it? Is XLM worthwhile investment, or should I convert it to Ethereum? Obviously, I have XRP. I'm contemplating ditching XLM. I think we all go through this, right? Where we have something that doesn't go up, and we just kind of get tired of it, and we want to put our money into something that's moving like right now. I get that anxiety. So what I would say here is, what is your goal for that XLM? Like, what are you trying to achieve? Is this something that you're holding for this bull market? Is this something you're holding for the next 10 years? Is this something you're holding for tomorrow? Because all three of those different things will give you 3 different answers. Is XLM a good token to hold? Absolutely. XLM is mentioned a lot with Ripple by central banks and the World Economic Forum and the BIS and the DTCC. Like, you have all of these institutions that have tested XLM and Ripple, and I think long term XLM is going to be a powerhouse. Are there other assets right now in this market this second that might do better over the next 3 to 6 months than XLM? Absolutely. What are those assets? It's going to have to find out. I think SUI still has a long way to go. I think SUI can still run pretty hard. I think HBAR is still going to run really well. ADA, I think ADA, I just put like $2,000 more into ADA yesterday. I've been buying ADA. I bought some more Zebec. That's tough. You got to figure out where you want to be, how long you're holding this for, what your goals are, and assess from there. Pick your battles. Thanks, Meredith. Thank you. I'm trying. I did good. I did so good. Buy the dip, Joseph. Buy the dip. Yeah. Listen, guys. sometimes these dips are good, right? It can't always go up. You're going to have these adjustments. You're going to have crazy things being said and tweeted. It's just a way of life right now. The best thing you can do is, if you think this market is going to continuously going up over the next 6 to 12 months, buy the dip. If you don't think the market is going to be going up over the next 6 to 12 months, take your profits and get out. Those are your options here, right? Personally, I'm staying in. I think it's just getting good. If the summer comes, right, over the next few months and things start to go down again, and I can get better prices and entries on some other assets, I will DCA into those assets. All right, fair enough. And thank you, Chipper, for the $5. I hope I answered the question. Appreciate you. ETH is so, like, Ethereum right now, you obviously would have been better to buy Ethereum at 1,500, right? But we've been talking about Ethereum for some time. We know that institutions are interested. I just don't think they care too much about Ethereum. Ethereum should still go to like 6 to 10K though. Like, if you don't think Ethereum's still going to go to 6 to 10K, it will. It will. I'll put my seal of approval on it. All right. XCN, no. So guys, XCN used to be the name of JP Morgan's crypto. It's not anymore. Did they change the ticker too? I'm not touching XCN for anything. Zebec and Serve, those two, I think Zebec is probably since it is already it's like 270 million. Serve is about 36 million. They both do completely separate things. You would imagine that in the short term that Zebec is probably a bigger solution. They are going after payroll, and payroll is like a 12 how much is payroll? Hold on. How big is the payroll industry? Let's take it to the mats. How big is the payroll industry in the US and globally? All right, let's find out. Let's do it. Multi-currency payroll solutions. The US market for multi-currency payroll solutions is valued at 32 billion. That doesn't seem right. I'm probably not asking the question the right way. Hold on. There was a clip that I watched. Hold on. Let me see if I can find the clip. Zebec. There's a clip I watched the other day, and it was the actual founder telling how much the addressable size of the market was, and I thought it was like trillions. Hold on.
Enabling financial freedom, enabling people of all ages to be able to access finance earlier than they would have received it beforehand, thinking about like cross-border payments and all of those kind of things. It feels very, very similar to Ripple and XRP and what's going on there. But of course, there's a lot that's being built there in terms of a community and the infrastructure, but that feels like it's all very like, hey, we're building this now for tomorrow. Whereas what's going on here with Zebec is like, this is happening right now. Like, people are genuinely being able to use your tools, use your products, and access their finances like in a very, very different way today.
This really goes back to our mindset as a company.
Here you go.
We're an execution first company.
This has got to be it, right?
We do not make big promises to the market until we
it's not it.
that they work first. That's why our M&A strategy was under wraps for the past 2 years, because we wanted to make
here it is.
that we could integrate these clients.
Here it is. $10 trillion. Here you go.
Adoption of Zebec and that utility that Doc Martin here was just talking about.
Well, I mean, we've been hearing it more and more recently. I'd say at Zebec, we have a ton of respect for Ripple and XRP and what they've built. I mean, in fact, we've been in talks with them now for the past couple of weeks about a potential product that we're working on together. So I'm not going to get into too much detail there, but we're definitely on their radar, and I'd say it's definitely a company that Zebec respects a lot. Now, the similarities between Zebec and XRP really come down to the markets that they're serving, right? Ripple, you can give a lot of the success to the size of the problem that they're trying to solve. So if they're tackling global remittance alone, that market is shy of $800 billion in US terms. Now, when you look at payroll, which is the problem that Zebec is trying to solve, the payroll market in the US alone in volume is north of 10 trillion. So
There you go.
both massive, massive markets, which is why I believe that Ripple has been able to get to the size it has. And Zebec, I believe, is on a similar trajectory.
All right, there you go. $10 trillion in the US. So hope that helps you with your research on this. Let's see here. Hey, Sensei, thank you for all your help and support you provide, brother. What's your take on Axlar? Hey, you need Axlar for interoperability. I think it's something that you should hold. I don't know how well it's going to perform in this market. That's something that's going to perform really well once we really get to utility. I don't know what the speculation value is going to be in this market, though. All right. Listen, Jake Claver is an incredibly smart, talented, well-connected individual. He knows a lot. And, I would love it if some of his predictions come true. Absolutely. I don't know. If everything goes right, I think one of the clips that he said, like, is if everything goes insane, like XRP could reach like a 4-digit in 2025. I personally don't think that's going to be possible, but I would love to be proven wrong. I think he's a very talented person, and I wish Jake all the best. Crypto Sensei, do you have any idea how down we may go? Joe, it's hard to say, all of this stuff that's going on with like the economy and the uncertainty, this could all be addressed and fixed like tomorrow, right? Like if we said, hey, we're going to stop all this craziness, we're going to slowly over the next 4 years work on these trade deals, but for now we're dropping all tariffs. Like that people would go effing bananas. Like that would bring us back to a place where, the companies would be hiring and expanding. And like, I think that would be what's probably best. But, there are other areas that this current administration is pursuing, and we just have to hold on and hope for the best. I can tell you this is not very complicated. When you make things 10%, 20%, 30% more expensive, okay, people will buy less. If people buy less, those companies that are producing the goods that people buy will have to make less goods because there's not a demand for the goods. If companies make less, products, they sell less, they're going to need a smaller team to build those products. If they need a smaller team and they're not putting out as many products, everything, like if you're a company and you're outsourcing some products from other companies to put your thing together, right? So maybe you have to work with 10 other supply chains to get all of the materials to build whatever your widget is, okay? If you're not building as many widgets, you're not going to need as many supplies from all of these other suppliers. Then they will start to lay off people, then the logistics people, then the trucking people. Do you see how like it can start to cascade there? So how is this all going to work out? I don't know, but there's a lot of people that are smarter than I am trying to figure this all out. All we can do is sit back and enjoy the ride. That's all we can do, man. He asked 10 times, what are we talking about? Yeah. Yeah. It stresses me out, gives me freaking anxiety up to the yin yangs because of like, this could all go really, really well. and it's going to also go like really, really bad. Like we're on this, teeter totter where one side is a recession or a depression, and one side is hopefully it all works out. Like we put ourselves here, we deserve whatever's coming, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. All right. What's the news? Oh, Rocky. I mean, I don't know. We've gone through like 60 something tiles of news. Bitcoin's up. New tariffs are announced on the EU. The big beautiful bill got passed in the House, but probably will be rewritten in the Senate. There's not too much crypto related stuff in the bill. The Genius Act is probably going to be passed in the Senate. That will probably get passed in the House and then signed into law by President Trump, giving us stablecoin regulation. SUI is probably a top choice. Zebec network is a top choice. ADA is a top choice. There you go, brother. All right, let me get back to, I've missed now 100 comments. Let me just go all the way back to the bottom. Let's see here. Sit back, make medicine and other important things. All right. Build your bag now. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Mark Schaefer's question. Okay, let me look for Mark Schaefer. Mark Schaefer. Mark Schaefer. Anyone here lose XRP from the atomic wallet hack of June 2023? No info from the company. Sensei, do you know a way to find out if we can recover our crypto? Atomic wallet hack. Let's see if we can find some information on this. Hold on. Do you have any information on the atomic wallet hack in 2023? Is there any recourse for people? All right, let's see if we can answer your question here. Okay. I have no idea. Like, this is, if it happened, I either my brain's not like remembering it, or so many things happen. It's just hard to keep up with all of these hacks. So in early June 2023, Atomic Wallet, a widely used non-custodial cryptocurrency wallet, suffered a major security breach, resulted $100 million worth of cryptocurrency and thousands of users worldwide. Initial reports estimated losses at 35 million, but subsequent investigations raised a total of 100 million, 5,500 wallets affected. That's just bad fucking luck. Excuse my French. The hack, technical skills, known security vulnerabilities, potential vectors, North Korean involvement. Oh my goodness. Impact of users. The breach led to significant losses. Cryptocurrency portfolios. Atomic stated that less than 1% of their monthly active users were affected, but those for those impacted, the losses were often total and devastating. Response. Atomic Wallet's actions. The company advised users to move any remaining funds to other wallets and begin collaborating with blockchain analytic firms and law enforcement to trace back extensive stolen items, tracking stolen funds. Investigators track the movement of stolen assets across blockchains through mixers, but sophisticated money laundering techniques used. The attackers made recovery extremely difficult. Lack of transparency. Atomic Wallet has not provided a detailed public explanation, so it doesn't look like you're going to be getting your money back. There was a class action lawsuit. Victims in the United States initiated a class action lawsuit against Atomic Wallet, alleging negligence, failure and address security flaws, and misrepresentation of the platform's safety. The suit sought damages, restricted affected users, allegations, outcome. In September 2024, a U.S. federal judge dismissed the class action lawsuit, ruling that the Colorado court lacked jurisdiction over the Estonia-based Atomic Wallet. So you're pretty much done here. Unfortunately, listen, I will give you all of this. If you want to look at the link in below, all the data that I just kind of read and the more is going to be in there. I'm very sorry to hear that, Mark. Doesn't seem like there's much that can be done, though. Unfortunately, that's the problem with the crypto space. Crypto space is just, it's hard sometimes, man. It takes a lot out of you. Do we need to be trained, though? Like, I'm not a dog. I don't need to be trained. I just you know, person promises you all of this stuff, like I'm bringing prices down, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Like the first thing he does is make shit more expensive. I don't know. I don't know. Touch grass by the dips. Early investors bear the scars. I think the stock market right now is fucking way overbought. I like, people are not paying attention to what institutions are doing. Like institutions are actively dumping stocks. Hedge funds are actively getting out of the market, and it's retail who's propping the market up. And we've all learned that retail most of the time doesn't know what they're doing, right? That's why people go to institutions to invest money. So it's all going to be on the retail investor, whether they're going to be a rock star and make all of this money, or the market crashes and they're going to lose a lot. And then, you know, the market eventually will come back. If we go into a recession, obviously that could last 6 months or a year or longer. Hopefully it doesn't get to that. But, you know, I know I don't want to go. I don't want to relive all this again. All right. Nate Collins says, just because Law, you are good at what you do. No question. Nate, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Thank you. It took years to get to this point, but I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the support. And Luna thanks you too.